My name is Max. I'm a senior at Stanford University where I study international relations. I'm the community manager in the loosely Slavic-themed house where I live with 49 of the coolest and weirdest people you will ever meet. I teach spin classes, I like concerts and brunch, this is my room, this is my poster of Drake, this is the futon I found in the closet downstairs, and this is my show. Following opinions do not represent the official views of Stanford University or any of its associated divisions. This program is in no way sponsored or officiated by Stanford. I'm here with my two very good friends, Ethan Gotlieb Wilcox and Gideon Weiler, and this is Maxy, Gids, and Gotlieb's top 10 list. First segment we're going to talk who we think were the top 10 people in our lives here at Stanford as college students, as young Americans, who influenced our lives most this year.
Hawksbees, bottom of the list.
Number 10.
Number 10.
But on the list.
Barely relevant.
So, they've fundamentally changed the party landscape of
We need to
Stanford.
explain who the Hawksbees
Freshmen going forward will have different expectations.
We need to explain who they are.
One of them is a political science professor, I believe. One of them is an English professor. They live very near one of the fraternities on campus. They interrupted a fraternity party like week 1 of school with a pair of garden shears to cut the cord. They got into a fight with members at the fraternity.
Police have been very involved.
Yeah.
The reason they're relevant, especially this year, is they finally answered the infamous "turn down for what?" question. Turn down for the Hawksbees.
That's party with Hawksbees. You saw here.
Right here. We just claimed that.
What do we think about Nettie?
I think he's hugely influential, but I'm like massively critical of his decisions. So he's like influential, but like not in terms of an endorsement by us, but in terms of the level of his agency.
And I think just as like a news follower, it was very, like, that was a big deal this summer.
Yeah, and social media too.
Yik Yak is quite a thing on this campus.
Yeah, it's used for a lot of confessional things where people talk about their problems, and it was described as the underwater camera beneath the floating duck syndrome.
That is fascinating.
You, like,
That's fascinating.
You see like the real challenges and vulnerability and confessions of Stanford students in a very organic, anonymous
that's
way.
real. You get emotional support. It's good for mental health. On this campus, the death of Steve Jobs was felt quite profoundly. The funeral was held on campus. He gave that incredible, commencement speech. That was like the most watched TED video
and like
ever.
Defined like the culture of Silicon Valley.
Right.
Yeah, which is like so
like the
culture of Stanford.
Innovative, like idiosyncratic.
People just thought that when he had died, that spirit had died. Tim Cook is proving now that Apple will continue to be relevant. The first Fortune 500 CEO to be openly gay. I think that's really significant.
Yeah, that's big, and he was in the news a lot, like, with the release of everything.
We were the first generation really to study the Cold War as a historical event, and it doesn't feel very historical right now. Does it?
It feels like relevant right now. America's role as like the unassailable like elite in geopolitics is like shifted because of Putin. He's just a master strategist and has like played America. It kind of shows America's like limitations as a world power.
The contrast of Putin-Obama is so fascinating. Huge Obama supporters on this campus. Obviously people in the United States are generally anti-Putin, yet Putin's approval ratings compared to Obama's
it's like 97%.
Yeah. The Kardashians are epitomizing what it means to be famous without being famous.
It's the potent symbol of our like vapid, celebrity-driven, fake relationship-saturated culture.
What I argue that the Kardashians have done that other people have not been able to do is they have made their entire lives a brand. Every part of the Kardashians' lives is for sale.
I feel like there's some ways in which Kim Kardashian is leading this culture of exhibitionism.
Other than the recent magazine cover, which was like just very recent.
She broke the internet.
They haven't done anything this year. Like they haven't like.
That's the point.
That's the point. I think Uber has changed the world.
Certainly changed, like, sort of...
It changed my world.
Young Americans and, like...
The whole class of words.
I think define how you search for something. Uber is, I think, going to define how people get around.
Uber is the first successful sharing economy app. More than just Uber, sharing economy is going to change our world.
But it points to the potential of so many other mutually beneficial transactions that we can now have because of connectivity through the internet.
And also on Stanford campus.
Senior night thanks to Uber.
It's the signature moment of civil rights and like racial activism in the past
post-Obama. like post-Obama.
Yeah, maybe even a bigger scope than that, but certainly in our past year, like this is the biggest thing that's happened.
Maybe Trayvon Martin was big.
Actually,
Dorfman is pretty big.
Leah Francis was a senior at Stanford last year. She was a survivor of sexual assault. She was the figurehead of the Stanford arm of the Title IX protests. She was written up in Huffington Post and Slate magazine. I would put her in the same position as Emma Solkowitz, who is a senior project is to carry that weight project at Columbia. Yeah. But I think we have to be careful that we can reward her for her courageousness, but in no way shame people who don't come forward.
Yeah.
What claims do we make on people who were like affected? Because we're kind of like third parties.
Someone who's affected by it like doesn't have responsibility to anyone else but themselves. A survivor or can be perceived to have some responsibility for the future victims of their perpetrator. Some people make that argument.
Yeah.
Really?
People say I came forward because I wouldn't want this person to harm someone else.
My intuition is that like I don't want to press anyone, or like I don't believe there's a pressure, but like these are two moral arguments that counter that intuition.
Yeah, to like fight it.
That there is a moral imperative for
and
people
also in the local case to like prevent future stuff.
We can all agree that Leah Francis was incredibly influential.
Yeah.
Emma Solkowitz as well,
like
but
the
just
dialectics of like feminist activism.
Right.
Everyone expects things like top 10 lists nowadays.
This whole thing is influenced by BuzzFeed. We're doing a top 10 list.
Oh my god, shit! Number one is BuzzFeed. They do.
That's what we're doing. Is this what a BuzzFeed like staff office is like?
What's so amazing about it is how it incorporates so many different types of media. There's like visual media, there's music, there's data, there's graphics.
There's some like high content on BuzzFeed as well as a low. And like that's a weird thing. Like usually when I'm on New York Times, I don't expect there to be like lolcats.
Right.
Yeah.
But BuzzFeed, more than any other platform, just kind of like juxtaposes like the high and low.
And they've captured such an important audience. You know, they've really captured
like
this
young
audience,
people,
who probably don't sit down and read the New York Times.
Is it bad or good? You know, is everything? I kind of have an intuition that it's like trivializing everything and like quantifying everything.
I think it's helping people ingest way more media because there is so much more media.
That's what Gideon's saying is bad. You'll be a much better citizen of the world and like participant in democracy and like much more intelligent if you, instead of knowing a tiny little bit about all sorts of things, like you just pick some of those things and actually read about them.
Deeply internalize them and reflect on them. Go through a process of deliberation about them. Not just see like image it flashing.
Those were our top 10 most influential people of 2014 to us here at Stanford. We're going to keep doing these top 10 lists. If you have any ideas for us or if you were super engaged by this, please comment, please contribute, please subscribe. Thanks guys. See you next time.